Good afternoon, everyone, or at least it's afternoon for us, and welcome back for a Ctrl-Screen podcast.
Numero cinco.
Yes, number 5.
Woo! I know Spanish.
Yeah, very little.
Muy pequeño.
Yeah, so we wanted to make a brief comeback for this podcast because a lot of stuff, interesting stuff from movies and TV shows has happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured it's due to do a podcast.
Due to do.
Yeah.
Huh, yeah, that actually works.
Like D-U-E.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just do a brief rundown of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the new Logan trailer, the new Rogue One trailer, the new Assassin's Creed trailer, the A Cure for Wellness trailer, and the new Guardians of the Galaxy teaser, in terms of movie trailers. And then for TV, mostly Netflix stuff, we're going to be talking about the Iron Fist trailer / reveal kind of thing. Sigourney Weaver being announced as the Defenders villain, a series of unfortunate events, little teaser sting kind of thing, and then maybe if there's time we'll do a little brief Luke Cage review.
Very brief, and it's going to be spoilers, so that's why we'll save it to the end, so you can, if you haven't seen it, even though I don't think it doesn't, like, that show, nothing really happened to the point where it's like, oh, I can't believe you spoiled it.
Nothing's like world breaking.
Yeah.
All right, well, obviously we have a lot of stuff to go into, so let's just jump right into it.
So starting off with the Logan trailer, I'm not that big of a fan of the X-Men franchise, so watching this trailer, I had absolutely no clue like what was going on. So what I got from it is that it takes place in some post-apocalyptic world.
I think it's 2024.
Yeah,
is the official time.
And I remember him saying something about like all his friends are dead or something like that. So it gives me this idea of, he's this person that he can't die. So he's cursed with living with no family members. And the great thing I got from this, or the vibe that it's different than any other superhero movie, was that I felt like this is going to be a more of an emotional type journey, more so than an action-packed thing, which is an interesting take on these franchises, because that's something we haven't seen happen in these movies.
It seems like it's more... It like pushes drama first and then action is secondary.
Right.
So it's a lot like Watchmen in the fact that the story and the character motivation and stuff seems a lot more important than the set piece action stuff, which seemed very limited.
Right.
Which I'm totally okay with because we've had, in my opinion, too much of that kind of stuff. So we need to make it a little bit more small scale.
Right. And I mean, like, not to say, at least for me personally, I don't dislike the action-packed superhero movies. Like, those are usually, like, Marvel movies to me, they haven't gotten old to me yet. I just like their style of comedy, action, stuff like that, just because those type of movies that I can watch and just enjoy and laugh and not have to really think about. But it's always refreshing to have kind of like a new taste on something that you haven't seen before. And it's kind of refreshing.
And it's nice to see that they're taking like another huge gamble, because Fox took their first huge gamble with Deadpool and making it rated R. And it paid off enormously. But the tone in this one is like a rated R, but not in the same vein that Deadpool was, where it's almost like humorous violence. This one is like emotional violence, where there's actually a weight to it. I remember in the Red Band trailer when he stabs the guy through the head, which was amazing. Totally unexpected, by the way, in that version. But it felt like he didn't want to do it. Just like in the way that his facial expression was going off, like watching it more than once. Obviously, the first time you watch it, you're like, Jesus Christ, he just stabbed the guy in the head. But the second time you watch it, it's like, oh man, it looks like he really doesn't want to do that. Like he's almost beyond that kind of thing. And it's a lot of the stuff that they are showing in there seems much more deep than any comic book movie ever, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
Where there's a lot more weight to the situation, and they're like... Obviously, there's like the whole like cliche thing where it's like, oh, he's an old man and he's drinking and he's upset. But at the same time,
you kind of understand why.
You understand why, but it's not the same cliche when you apply it to the fact that he has superpowers and that like he's not just an ordinary person going through this stuff.
Right. It's almost like he's almost always thrust in these situations that he doesn't want to be in.
Right.
And he doesn't want to do it, but he has to do it. And that was the thing that, watching this trailer, immediately not knowing anything about the characters that were introduced or shown in that trailer, I got this very father-daughter vibe from the girl that showed up. And that's like that paired with the Johnny Cash singing, I can't remember the name of the song.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Hurt
just
by
like
Johnny Cash.
very slow and just gave this like all around. I got this like he's out there to protect this little girl, and to me that just like that's this is going to be such an emotional movie for him.
Yeah, it really is. The song was like very on the nose in like the lyrics and stuff, and it's talking about like having gone through life and wanting to change things and stuff. But it fit too perfectly to the point where it didn't even matter. Like it just fit so well. And going into minor possible spoilers, I think if you read the comics, you can pretty much infer that the little girl is X-23. I'll just leave it at that. And then seeing some of the stuff with Professor X, like he doesn't look like he's in the greatest health either. So I like the fact that in as opposed to most X-Men movies, there's usually too many characters in those movies, and it feels like, in my opinion, like every X-Men movie is like an Avengers movie kind of thing. Right. So it's a lot. It's very difficult to balance the characters and put their.
It's hard to have an arc for every single character in the movie.
So when you're having like a smaller group of characters, because it seems like it's really 3 people against like a lot. Right. Like the Mexican. I'm assuming it's Mexican. Border Patrol or something like that, or the police, and then there's a couple other bad guys. Won't go into any spoilers on those people, but it seems like it's much smaller, which can help focus on the drama and the character arc rather than just cool, he's stabbing the guy and he's cutting him open and there's explosions and stuff, which is what the X-Men Origins did way too much. Right. Is they had brief moments in that movie of like, this is going to be great. He's going into character motivation, and then it was a set piece. The most comic book movies kind of just like, they have in-between moments, but they're basically just jumping from set piece to set piece to set piece.
And I don't think that's necessarily something you can blame them for, because, I mean, the audience that they're targeting after literally are just teenagers that sit and play video games that, they're just like, explosion, yay, clap, 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 clap. Yeah. So it's not like, these are terrible movies because they're just focusing on set pieces over story.
No, of course not. But I can't fault them for it, but to me, it's getting a little bit stale in the sense that they haven't branched out and tried anything different. Yeah. So I think that's why I enjoyed this trailer so much, is it's so contrary to everything else that's been put out that it just makes it more appealing in that sense that it's going to be a drastically different thing going on.
Yeah, and it looks really good too.
The cinematography is just I'm going to say that for pretty much everything in the trailers, but goddamn, it looked good. The cinematography looked great, and the CG almost flawless. Yeah, from what I could tell.
There was very little points where I could tell that it was CG. Besides, obviously, whenever he shoves the thing through his head, that guy's head,
even then, it still looked like a mix of practical and CG, which is saying a lot.
They literally killed that dude.
Yeah. But a lot of this, like the X-Men movies and stuff, they go extremely heavy on the CG stuff, and it suffers in that it doesn't necessarily age that well. Right. So when you do a mix of the two, and it looks really good, like when Charlie Hunnam is putting on the glasses with his prosthetic robot hand, that looked real. Right. Like that hand looked legitimately real. And there were a couple other shots where he had it, and then I think someone else had some sort of prosthetic or something like that. Right. And it looked very organic almost. It looked like very real world application.
Well, I think we're getting to the point where, because CGI is used so much, that people are continually just learning on what they've done on past movies and applying that forward. And you almost kind of like the technology theory of where everything just multiplies by itself over time. So to the point where it's just going to get to the fact where we can have completely 100% CGI movies look like they're shot in real life at some point. It probably won't be in the next 20, 30 years, but
it'll happen.
It'll get to that point where it's just you won't know. Yeah. And I don't know if that would necessarily be a good thing or a bad thing.
It depends. I don't think that people, as an audience, are going to flock to those more than they are going to see stars and stuff. But I forgot what I was going to say. Damn. I'm thinking maybe because the CG looked so good, is that because there were not a lot of action set pieces revealed so far, and it seems like it's got almost like an independent film kind of look to it, where it's very low budget kind of thing. They may have had more budget to spend on the actual special effects and stuff, rather than on more talent, like Halle Berry and James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. Like those are big name actors, and they get paid more.
Right.
So when you don't have as many people like that, you don't necessarily have to pay as big a salary. Plus, there's not as many action set pieces, at least that we saw, or they were a lot more small scale, where it was more like one-on-one rather than like a small army versus like a couple of people, which is a lot of what the X-Men stuff is.
Right.
So it seems like they have a lot more budget to work with to really pump up those special effects shots that they do use, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of these things where it's like I've never really gotten into the whole, like, I've been burnt too many times in the X-Men universe to where even though this trailer looks really good, I honestly doubt I'll see it unless for some reason I'm feeling bored and I was like, oh, I might as well go see Logan today.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks like, I mean, it's worth a shot for me, but it's just one of those things where it's like too many times the X-Men franchise is just like, oh, look at this great trailer, or semi-good trailer, or really bad trailer. Oh, look, it's a really bad movie, or it's just like, oh, this never didn't turn out what I thought. So it's like, I go back and forth on it.
Yeah, because like I'm not a big X-Men fan myself. The only ones I really like are the first one, the second one, and then I liked the Wolverine. The other ones, a lot of people just like, oh, First Class was great. In my opinion, it's really not that good. Days of Future Past was pretty average in my opinion, and then everything in between was just terrible. So, but I like that they're focusing on a character that's pretty unanimously like everyone's favorite in the X-Men, or at least everyone's like, oh, he's...
Well, they like the actor, too.
Yeah, they like the actor because he, in my opinion, he's a much better Wolverine than Robert Downey Jr. is in Iron Man. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but it's, in terms of accurately representing the character from the comics, leaps and bounds better. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably going to see it in theaters just because I liked the story that it was very loosely based on the comic Old Man Logan. So I kind of want to see how they're going to do, not to mention the fact that it just looks really well shot.
Right.
So I will go see it. So
speaking of movies we'll go see in theaters, Rogue One also had it's a full trailer too, right? Come out this week or the week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks. Oh, was it really 2 weeks ago?
Time flies when you're doing nothing.
Again, it looks very pretty.
Very well shot.
And CGI, everything.
Like, pretty much all the stuff we're going to talk about is just, like, super clean. And that maybe they focused on the shots that they're going to use for the trailer.
Right.
And then now, like, probably right now, they're working on the effect shots for the other parts of the movie. But from what they've shown, like, they just look so good.
Right.
Like, very polished. Like, not any, like, stray artifacts or anything like that. So,
I mean, like, I kind of look forward to seeing the battles taking place. And I got, like, a really, like, famous battle vibes from, like our history. World War II, Vietnam, just, like, storming the beaches in the first trailer. And then in this trailer that just came out, going through the jungles. And it just looked realistic enough to where it's like, oh, this is like a legit, like, is this going to be a movie of just straight up war?
Yeah. Which
would be fantastic, because like a lot of Star Wars is just, for me at least, watching, I don't remember ever seeing the prequels, thank God. I just remember seeing the first one, but watching the original three, like, they were good movies,
there were good stories,
but there was not a lot of things going on. So it's just like,
it was very, I'm not going to say it was very small scale because that's not right, but the way that it was portrayed was that it was smaller scale because they only had so much they could do with the money they had and the effects they had at the time.
Right.
But yeah, this looks much more gritty and much more violent, in my opinion. Like, even when they were running through the forest and the AT-AT is like right next to them and it's crashing down,
you could like feel the force.
You could feel the... Poor choice of words. But you could feel like the impact of the footstep when it hit the ground because like the trees were exploding and the particle effects. I don't know if they actually used like squibs to like make the explosions or if they used actual CG to like have the trees explosion and just like the different like particles from that. But it looked so legitimate. Like the actors looked like they were like running from something, and that may just be I'm buying into it a little bit. They
literally had AT-ATs chasing them, and they were scared for their lives.
Correct.
It's like, you better run or we're not paying you.
Correct. But it looked very just such well shot. My favorite shot from that trailer is when they're on a farm kind of thing in the very beginning, and it's the shot where there's the Death Troopers behind Director Krennic, the guy in the white caped outfit, and it's just like the grassy field and it's all wet and it's rainy. Just the way that was shot just looks so organic.
Right.
Like they were there, but like the filter they used on the lens, it just made it look
grittier,
like gritty, but like you were actually there, like experiencing like the weather with them and stuff.
Right.
It just very well shot.
You see the guy taking the cover and wiping the lens.
There's a guy off on the side spraying them with a hose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, the trailer for me was really good, except for the fact that I think it gave, at least for me, too much away.
Yeah.
In that it spoiled this moment that would have been great to experience in the theaters, and that the main character's father is the one that's the head person behind the Death Star.
Which is total bullshit if anyone had watched the prequels, but it's totally fine.
Yeah.
They suck.
But it's like, why would you tell me that in a trailer? Because it's not a moment that's gonna make me go see the movie.
Yeah.
But it's a moment that would be like, oh crap!
It could have been
while
an interesting.
while I'm in the theaters.
It could have been an interesting reveal, and it would have helped give you understanding of the character's motivation to go do something. So I totally understand that. The two things that made it not an issue for me was, well, first of all, the fact that it's probably going to be revealed so early on in the movie that it's really not going to matter. I'd say it's probably going to be revealed within like the first 15 to 20 minutes. Because it seems like she's going to be in a prison cell somewhere, and then she'll be taken in by the rebels, and then they'll explain what has to happen kind of thing. So I feel like that would happen pretty early in the movie, and everything else would be leading up to, obviously, the end of the movie, where they get the Death Star plans up to the ship. And the second thing is the actor, Mads Mikkelsen. When he was doing an interview, I'd say 3 or 4 months ago, probably. I think it was with USA Today or something like that, but I could be wrong. But he was doing an interview with someone, and he accidentally let it slip that he was playing... I can't remember the actress's name, but Jyn Erso. He's playing her father. Like he revealed that on accident, and he said, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that." So I feel like they kind of had to do some sort of damage control and basically just say, "Yeah, he's gonna be the dad." Whatever. It's really, it's not that big of a thing, but we kind of wanted to wait to reveal it. So it is unfortunate that happened though, because it could have been an interesting moment where it's like, "Oh, dang."
To me, that would have been the Luke, I'm your father moment of that movie. Because it's one of those things, like, when you first, like, obviously that was spoiled for me because it just became, like, this thing for whatever reason. Like, all throughout school was like, Luke, I don't remember why it just was.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember hearing stories of people that saw it opening night, and they were just blown away by that moment. And to me, it would have been one of those things where it's like, oh, this character is going to go on the suicide mission. Oh, her father is there? Now, all of a sudden, it's like, is she really going there to steal the Death Star plans, or is she going there to save her father? Yeah. And so then it kind of makes this whole motivation thing for me. And then, well, seeing in the trailer, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like it doesn't, like, oh, okay. I think, it has no effect on me.
I think you might be blowing it a little bit out of proportion with like comparing that to Luke, I Am Your Father, because that was like over the course of essentially 2 movies. Right. So they had a little bit of build up to that, and there was some hints that said that he wasn't his father kind of thing, and then eventually it was revealed. But I could definitely see that being at least like a oh dang kind of moment where it like throws you off. But
it immerses you more into the story.
Right. Another thing, not that that's like a huge complaint or anything, but another thing that people were kind of bothered about was that they showed Darth Vader in the trailer. To me, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know he's on that ship.
You honestly, you would have been disappointed if the movie hadn't had him. Right. So showing him literally walking is not like oh dang, they ruined the movie.
Yeah, you don't know why he's walking or any, like, you don't know any motivation for what he's going to be doing.
You don't know when it is, you don't know why it is, and you don't know where it is. So
what's on the Death Star?
You don't know that. He's walking off of a shuttle. It doesn't have to be on the Death Star. It could be on a planet where they're holding like a shield or something, or if they're holding the plans that they've been building. No one knows, other than the people that made it, obviously. But I don't know. That was something that really bothered me. Is people are like, "Oh, they're giving away the whole movie with Darth Vader walking off a shuttle." It's like they showed 3 shots in the movie that he was in. One of them was literally a reflection off of the floor. The second one was a behind the over the shoulder shot where it just looks like he's wearing just a freaking tin can on his head.
Dark helmet.
Yeah. And then the third one was him walking off the shuttle. He hasn't said anything and he hasn't done anything other than walking.
I wonder if they're going to have James Earl Jones voice him again.
They do. They do.
It's going to be great.
And he's been voicing Darth Vader in the Rebels show. Mm-hmm. And it's been great. Like, really good. So, I'm excited. But people complaining about that, it's like, you have way more things to complain about.
It's like, that, like, that's his main thing. It's like, Death Star, Darth Vader. It's like, he's not going to not be in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not like it's... What would have been more of a thing if they had revealed was if Boba Fett was in the movie. Mm-hmm. And if they had revealed that, then there would have been legitimate reason to go like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Like, why'd you reveal that?
Yeah.
But they haven't.
Yeah.
I'm still hoping that he's in it. I don't think
hopefully he's a more of an interesting character than he was.
Yeah. I mean, he's cool.
But I showed up and now I'm dead.
Yeah. He was cool, but like he hasn't. It's more like his reputation kind of precedes him, kind of thing. So I hope that he's in it, but at the same time, I don't think he's gonna be. Yeah. But if they had shown something like that, that would have been a reason to be up in arms. Like, what the hell's going on? Why are you showing that? Like, so anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, because we're kind of on the Star Wars thing, and we didn't write this down for the list to talk about, but it made me think about the news that just came out about the Han Solo casting for the.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else other than being really excited that Donald Glover is going to be, or Danny Glover. Danny Glover is going to be Calrissian, I think.
It's Danny Glover. Oh God.
It's like he's a really good actor.
I don't know if it's Danny or if it's Donald.
I always really mix those up. He's on Community, and I feel really bad because I love him to death. Yeah, he's hilarious.
Lethal Weapon is going to be Lando Calrissian.
Donald Glover.
I think it's Danny.
Oh, it's Donald.
It is Donald.
It is Donald. I knew it.
You would think that Donald would be like a older name kind of thing. Okay, it's Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm. He's so underrated as an actor too.
Yeah.
And I think he has a TV show out now that is doing good. But yeah, I remember seeing that news. It's like, okay, yeah. I don't remember who's the Han Solo.
I have to admit, he doesn't look like Lando Calrissian at all.
But this is like in the future.
No, it's in the past.
Well, in the past, yeah.
But I don't really care. Mm-hmm. Like, because the other guy looks nothing like Han Solo either.
Right.
And not to mention, I have zero good expectations for this movie.
So it's going to be great.
Exactly. I'm expecting the movie just to be a turd, just because they're like basically jumping in on a character that I necessarily don't understand why people have such admiration for.
Oh, it's just Harrison Ford. It's like, oh.
Hearrison Ford is great, but he's better Indiana Jones than he is a Han Solo. Mm-hmm. So
even watching like the original 3 movies, like Han Solo is a piece of shit.
Like he's a douchebag, but like he does help. Mm-hmm. But I feel like his character is totally eclipsed by Luke. Mm-hmm. That's just me, because I've always liked Luke more.
Well, I mean, Luke is technically the main character, I would argue.
Yeah, but Luke was my homie. I always wanted to be Luke Skywalker when I was younger. It's like, I want to ride on one of those speeders and just take out the Emperor indirectly. Not even, like, fully.
Now I'm just having prequel flashbacks.
Yeah, well, don't.
The pod racer. God damn it, no!
Hey, that was a good scene, the pod racer
thing. It was.
That was really good. Anyway, jumping into the next trailer that we saw, Assassin's Creed, that came out this week. I want to say Tuesday. Could be completely wrong. I'm just going to say Tuesday and then be wrong.
Yeah.
So, the trailer was very interesting. They showed quite a bit from what can possibly happen in the movie, but I don't know. It seemed really interesting to see how they do it.
I think it's definitely the best trailer they've released for this movie so far, and it helped me. Because I'm a fan of the games. I've played all of the games except for the first one. I started it and just haven't finished it just because it's so old and I hate playing old games. Mm-hmm. But the trailer that came out did such a good job, I think, of explaining to an audience that have never played the game what is going on and why these scenarios are happening. Because to the everyday normal person, so this guy gets hooked up to a machine, then goes back into the past and plays an assassin to... It's
a hard thing to sell.
Right. So I think this trailer did a great job in showing motivation onto why... Maybe they didn't say specifically why, but kind of like
It showed how, at least.
right, and then like kind of I have an idea of what's going to be happening, like the balance between the two, which was something that I was kind of worried about before, but I'm a little bit more confident on now that I've seen more of what they're going to be doing in the present time in that movie, which is kind of like what they explore in the games too. I was very excited whenever I saw this trailer, just because, like, to me, nothing can really be spoiled about this movie, just because I know about the franchise so much.
It's similar to how, like, you with the Rogue One thing, like, you thought that was kind of a spoiler, and I think that them showing a little bit too much of what's going on, but it makes sense that they have to get people in to see the movie, because I probably would have seen it regardless, so it doesn't really matter. To me, it kind of bothered me that they basically laid everything out instead of letting the movie do that. But that's just me from like a really weird perspective kind of looking at it. But like watching it a second time, it made sense why they had to do that kind of thing. So
I'm super excited to see what they're going to be doing when they go back into the Assassin's time, because like in the games, that's obviously where the most fun is, because it's Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And seeing some of the assassinations that they showed made me excited. And I'm excited to see what they do, like the parkour version, because that's always like an interesting thing. And it looked really good.
The free running was amazing.
Yeah.
Like very well choreographed and stuff.
So I'm excited to see what great artifact they'll be chasing this time.
Yeah, because it's basically like treasure hunting in the past just to go collect it in the future kind of thing, right?
Right. So
which is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, they find it in the past so they can go there in the future. And I'm also interested to see, because it takes place during the Spanish Inquisition.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
So I'm interested in seeing what type of historical figures show up, and it could literally be like I don't know much about that time period.
Yeah, I don't know much either.
But I mean, that's part of the games, is that you always come across, like in the recent one, you meet the Queen of England, or in other games you've met Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, not Leonardo.
That would have been interesting. Da Vinci. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like you always just run across these characters like, oh, hey, yeah, I know, I remember learning about you, and it's like almost a history lesson in the game, which is awesome. But...
Speaking of DiCaprio, I hope that his wife from Inception doesn't jump off the ledge in this movie.
She might.
Yeah.
And she can lay in a hay bale and survive perfectly.
But the movie looked interesting. I'll definitely be checking that out.
Yeah, and yeah, I just hope they don't do. I say it all the time to you, the precursor gods. If they do that, the movie's doomed.
I hope they do it.
The franchise is doomed.
I hope they do it, but they redeem it.
It could happen. They started to redeem it in the newest game, I guess, a little bit, but it's just such a sharp jumping thing. It's like there's
kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just like there's this game is already out there.
Yeah.
You don't need to add this extra out there.
It'd be like Star Wars putting in like
gods.
Dragons.
Well, yeah, but it'd be like Star Wars putting in literally gods. It'd be like, oh yeah, we're gonna destroy the universe at some point, and you're all gonna die.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, it's just like, well then why? Okay.
Yeah, it's.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what artifact they're going after, because they always have like this special thing that could have dire consequences if they fall in the wrong hands.
Yeah. Anyway,
great games. You should play them.
Probably won't.
But
jumping into the next trailer, A Cure for Wellness. It looks so interesting in the sense that you don't know what the story is. All you know is that there's some sort of psychological or horror aspect to it,
right,
where there's like kind of like a BioShock or Evil Within kind of feel to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Or Shutter Island, because it's like a hospital almost, like a castle. And again, cinematography is fantastic, like with the reflecting shot off of the train when they're going out of the tunnel, and the other one where they're like looking at the castle from the distance.
Yeah, I don't know. Is this like a fantasy?
I don't know.
I was speechless the entire. I just don't know.
Like, just based on the title, it makes me think that it's gonna be people who are really complacent with their lives, and they want to like get rid of that complacency. And whoever's running the institute there is like basically like brainwashing them in some sense. But I don't know.
See, and what I got from that is that these are mentally ill patients that have like this weird things, like any type of horror thing that you see in video games where it's just like they have just random things going on in their minds.
And they're just like mentally ill.
Right.
I got the impression that they were mentally sane and that they were like, it's like they're complacent with that. And it's like, well, now we need a cure for being well kind of thing. Which makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know.
You would never think about that.
Exactly. It makes it so much more just like, what the hell's going on kind of feel to it. And one of my favorite shot from the trailer was definitely when they're coming out over the... Oh, actually, I don't know which one it is. Okay, it's between two. When they're coming out of the balcony and they're looking down into the like aerobic pool, and there's the people using the yoga balls, and it's just like the way that was framed, perfect.
Right.
And then the second favorite shot, or first, can't decide, was the shot of the like all enclosed bathtub, and it's just like on the tile floor, and you just see like a hand reaching out of it, but it didn't have like a horror kind of feel to that shot. It was more just like, oh, something is wrong, so kind of feel.
It's almost one of those things where it's like you're going into this movie and you're like, I don't know if I should be scared, if I should prepare to be just like confused, confused.
It's like it's almost better to go in like not even trying to figure it out and just being like at the end of the movie just being like, oh my god, that was terrifying or interesting or
so
whatever.
This is definitely one of those movies. I don't know if we ever explained what the Interstellar
we may have, but it's probably worth going into again.
Where you see the first trailer,
and that's it.
Yeah, you don't watch anything else. If it ever, like, you see a TV spot, mute the TV, walk out of the room.
Yep.
You avoid all news articles about this movie, any reviews, any pre-screening reviews. You avoid every single bit of information.
Basically, act like a crazy person to avoid having anything.
And quite honestly, it's something that, like, you should probably do to any movie you look forward to seeing.
That's true.
Even if, like, I should probably just stop. At this point, I know I'm going to see Assassin's Creed. I know I'm going to see Rogue One. I should stop watching trailers just because.
Yeah.
What's the point?
It's hard though.
It is.
It's very difficult. Well, at least for me, it is.
Right.
Like
you're excited to see what's going to be happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you want that sense of they're showing me a little bit more of this movie that I want to see.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like.
The Interstellar treatment just makes movies so much more enjoyable, and that you can basically just kind of toss the negatives of the movie kind of aside, and then revisit them later, just for the first time viewing experience.
Right.
Because the first time viewing experience will just be so genuine and will be the most accurate thing you'll ever have, instead of having someone taint your opinion on it. That when you come out of it and like, you'll just have like. Typically a very different opinion than everyone else that saw it. Because I know I did. And I used the Interstellar treatment 3 times so far. On Interstellar, on The Martian, and on The Revenant. I love all 3 of them. And 2 of them are my like top 5 movies. So if you kind of want to go in to see a movie, but you're not necessarily sure if they're going to reveal too much, just try this. Just watch like the first teaser, not even necessarily the trailer, like the first 30-second thing that they show. And then just wait and try to avoid everything you can.
Yeah.
And you'll just like you'll come out of the movie with just like a different experience than everyone else.
Well, for me with Interstellar in particular, like I never even saw a trailer for it. You just told me like, hey, you should see this movie. Don't watch any trailers for it. I was like, okay. So the moment when spoiler Matt Damon shows up, I was like,
it totally threw me for a loop.
Matt Damon's in this movie. Like I had zero clue. Like it was the biggest like.
The guy literally leaned out of the little pool thing he was in, and I was like, that's not Matt Damon.
Right.
Like I had a moment where it's like, that's not him, and then it was like, oh shit, that's him.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it's like those are experiences. I don't know if they probably did show him in the trailer. I don't think I've ever gone back and watched the trailer.
They didn't show him, but they did show they showed him in his spacesuit, but that doesn't matter because they didn't show his face or anything. But like in the credits for the movie, and like people have been talking about it before, because I went back after I'd seen it and watched all the trailers and stuff. They showed way too much, way too much. And like the press release and stuff, they're like, "Oh, Matt Damon's in this movie." It's like, well, why would you ruin that for people? Because it was such a twist moment when first you see he's alive, and it's like, Jesus Christ, that's Matt Damon.
Yeah, exactly.
Just, like in there,
you're supposed to be on Mars, dude.
Exactly. But yeah, the only trailer that I had actually seen before that, I think I had seen the first trailer where it's literally just the only thing they show from the movie is a cornfield, and it's not even in the movie. It's just like a shot that they showed of just like. It wasn't necessarily Matthew McConaughey, but it was a father holding his daughter's hand, looking over a cornfield, and a shuttle is rising up out of that. And as it's rising, the interstellar words come down vertically on the side of the shuttle. And then everything else in between that was just like different actual historic space events,
right?
Like showing like actual footage and stuff with just a voiceover with McConaughey. Didn't reveal anything, but it got me so pumped to see the movie. And then I think I saw it, and then I immediately texted you, and I was like, "Don't watch anything for it. Just watch the movie."
Yeah,
and totally worth it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things where it's like, why not?
Yeah,
like, if you can do it, and it literally makes the experience so much better.
So bouncing back to A Cure for Wellness, definitely doing that treatment to it. Because it just looks so intriguing, like,
and it's just like it feels like an original idea. That
it really does.
Been done before.
Because it's like it's just a mosh of like different feelings. Not even just like, oh, they're taking from this, they're ripping from that. It's like I'm just getting vibes from like these different properties.
And it could be that like we don't know if it's psychological horror. We don't know what type of genre of movie it is. It could be very possible that because they're experiencing from different points of view, that it could be a horror from this person's perspective, psychological horror from this.
That would be so cool if they did that. If they went into like different character, like not necessarily point of view, like actual like camera view,
but just like different characters experience the same thing differently.
Right. Like if they did like a difference, it's they did a little bit of that in Dead Space 3 when it was like the co-op stuff, like. One player would see certain things, just like I think Carter, or was it Carver? Like his daughter and wife had died or something like that, or his son, a child had died, and he was seeing like toys and stuff that his child had because like it was all getting like in his mind and stuff. But when you were playing as Isaac and you were like right next to him, you couldn't see any of that stuff, which was just
really cool.
It was so cool in the sense that that game pretty much sucked. But that made it so much more interesting in the fact that like you get this totally one of a kind experience the first time you see it.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there's something like that in this movie. So.
Yeah, possibly. It's one of those things where it's like I watched it and it's like I don't know what to say. But I have no clue what's going on.
Like I had no clue what was going on, but I was totally okay with it, kind of thing.
Like go along for the ride. And like it was by a director I've never heard of before.
It was Gore Verbinski.
He
did Pirates of the Caribbean.
Great.
which actually
like the first one was good, and then the rest were just like so it's just like it doesn't really usually doesn't inspire confidence.
No, it doesn't. Absolutely not.
But hey, that new Pirates of the Caribbean movie, am I right?
Yeah, we should be talking about that, but
I don't even.
We got a lot of other
stuff.
stuff.
Is there even a trailer for that?
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Maybe some other time.
So going into now the Guardians of the Galaxy teaser that was released. I like it didn't really show anything to look forward to. It's more of just like, okay, these are the characters that are going to be in this movie, and it's like there weren't any surprises or
no. It was exactly what a teaser should be,
right?
Which is funny because a lot of people were disappointed. They're like, you didn't show anything. It's like
that's the point.
He literally put a post. James Gunn, the director, he put a post out on Facebook saying that like, I know you guys are really interested in this movie and you want to see what's coming out. We don't have a full trailer yet, but we will soon. So here's something to whet your appetite, like a teaser. Great thing to do.
Right.
Great for fan interaction. Great for him just to be like
out there,
like getting involved with the fandom
and stuff. Which is what you have to do. I don't understand why they don't do that more.
Couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you. So it was just a lot of static action shots, kind of, which worked for what it was. But at the same time, I'd be much more interested in seeing like a trailer doing just the basic story,
right?
Like just the bit like in the first one. Let's say that they were like, "Oh, we're going to get this item." If they had just said that for this one, just be like, "Oh, we're going to get this item," I was like, "Perfect. That's all I need to know. Don't need to watch anything else."
Right.
But yeah, it was kind of disappointing for some people, but to me, it was just like kind of meh.
Well,
I think it doesn't matter. They didn't need to do anything.
Right. It's one of those things where, like, whenever trailers come out, I know I do this for movies that I'm really looking for, like, and you do too for Star Wars, I know, where you look for clues in every little thing.
Every frame.
So it's one of those things where it's like, these people are looking into things too much, trying to decipher.
Well, they want something out of it.
And, I mean, like, the only thing I could really get out of this teaser was that at some point, Star-Lord or someone crashes their ship. Because I remember them walking out of something that looked like a crashed ship in some forest area. And that's literally all I know about this movie. So I have no clue where they're at. And it's one of those things where it's like, this teaser is literally just like, okay, I have interest in this movie. I don't really need this. I personally don't need a trailer to know that I want to see this movie. And it's one of those things where I don't understand why people want trailers to give them information. Like, if you want the information, go see the movie.
Yeah.
You know you're going to see the movie. Why do you need to see the movie through a trailer?
To me, like, I know what you're saying, but, like, just giving, like, the log line of the movie in the trailer is perfect.
Right.
Just be like, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. And then they could just show just fucking random action shots. And I'd be totally okay with that, just as long as they don't go into, like, random action shots where it's like, oh, I'm killing the villain now. Or something like that.
That'd be great. And it could be a surprise twist.
It's like, I've already seen it. Don't need to pay. But, yeah, just, like, stuff like that, I totally understand what you're saying. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was alright.
Did what it needed to.
Exactly.
Didn't need to do anything. It didn't even need to exist, honestly.
Yeah, I would have if it didn't change my outlook on what that movie was going to be in any shape or form. I was really hard on the first one, so I have to be its supporter for the second one, no matter what.
Right.
Like, I owe it that.
All right, so jumping into the Netflix TV kind of stuff. The trailer for Iron Fist came out at Comic-Con. What'd you think of it?
I am more excited for Iron Fist than Luke Cage. Just, like, without going into my review of Luke Cage, it wasn't really, like, it didn't really hit, like, what I expected out of these movies. And not that it was, like, a bad show. It just was completely different than what I expected. To where I feel like Iron Fist, now there's stakes, and he's actually going to there's actually fighting scenes where he's using martial arts and beating the crap out of people. It looked like they're tying in enemies that are bad people they established in the Daredevil series that they're going to be facing in Iron Fist now, which is going to be interesting. I just like anything at this point that continues to build I don't even know what the Netflix universe that they're building.
Defenders universe, I guess?
Defenders universe. And it's just going to be interesting to see how they tie it all together. Like, me personally, I think they're going to in Iron Fist tied together for Defenders, and everyone's going to be at the end of Defender.
It would make sense for them to do that. My view on it is that it looked really interesting in that it's going to be exploring magic a little bit, but not in the same ludicrous amount that is in Doctor Strange. To me, this trailer looked much better than anything Doctor Strange has put out. That's just me, because I absolutely hate the concept of magic. It's just stupid to me. So seeing that they were doing a mix of magic and more real stuff, made it much more appealing. So I thought that the choreography for the fights looked really good, almost a lot like the Daredevil, and not necessarily like the Jessica Jones or Luke Cage stuff, where it looked more brutal kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm hoping that it's gonna be good.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's like Daredevil was great because he's a hand-to-hand combat type of person, just like Iron Fist is. So
I heard he's blind.
So it's one of those things where, like, it really does come down to fight choreography, and
that can make or break the action scenes.
Right. So when it comes to these other characters that they've shown, like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, where their powers aren't really that important to their character, or at least to me, it was just kind of like, okay, I'm just watching essentially a story develop. So it wasn't really what I was expecting. Not that they were bad. It was just they did the best they could with the characters, I guess. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what they do, what they blow their one shot fighting, because I know they're gonna have one. They better have one.
The one shots are great.
They do such a great job in every single one of those.
Yeah, and then bouncing right into the next thing, Sigourney Weaver got announced that she's going to be playing a villain in the Defenders show. I don't know if it's going to be a show or if it's going to be like a movie event for Netflix. I'm not sure. Either way, it does.
I hope it's a movie.
I do too, because it would make sense for that to happen. But
although,
maybe not. Either way,
it depends on what they want to do.
Yeah, it's up to them. Obviously, we don't have a say.
Yeah.
We should. But, yeah, I'm excited to see what she can do as a villain, since she's never really played a villain before, other than in, like, 5 minutes of Cabin in the Woods, and, like, she did nothing. But for most of the movies she's been in lately, she's just been kind of phoning in her performance and not really... She's basically been like Harrison Ford was in a lot of the movies he was in, other than Force Awakens. Like when he was in...
Where he dies.
Well, when he... Wow, fuck you. When he was in Ender's Game and Indiana Jones 4, which didn't happen. But he was just like barely there kind of thing, where he was just like, yeah, I'll show up for the paycheck and I'll say my lines, but I will not do it with any emotion kind of thing.
Right.
I hope that she does what he did with Force Awakens, where he actually like brings his A game, probably for the last time.
Right.
And really steps up to be the signature villain of that show. So,
and it's one of those things where I think they showed a trailer at Comic-Con, but they didn't release it to the public. So we have no information on who she's playing.
Right.
So it's one of those things like they might explain it in Iron Fist, kind of build her up, because whenever this news came out, I was kind of like, I went into research mode of who have they mentioned in the Netflix universe that could potentially be a villain for this. And honestly, they haven't built anyone up for the Defenders, which kind of surprises me, but I'm also happy about it, because then maybe that's something they actually, if they do, they're probably going to do a TV series for it, so it's going to be 13 episodes, so they'll probably do all the building for the villain in the Defenders series.
They'll probably have just like the sort of internal conflicts of like interest where it's like, oh, I don't agree with that, and oh, well, too bad. It's probably going to be Matt Murdock being a douchebag because that's who he is. And Iron Fist and Luke Cage are probably going to get along because they always get along in the comics and stuff. So, yeah, I'm curious to see who she's going to play and how
I've seen some pretty ridiculous theories.
I'm sure. And it'll be interesting to see how she actually does it, like how she actually acts and stuff. So
she's gonna just show up as an alien
in the costume,
just like literally, it's just gonna be the alien with her face. Like it's gonna be like they print it out on a piece of paper and they just cut out her face and just
tape it to her. It'll be like in Deadpool when he pulls off his mask and he's got Hugh Jackman's face stapled to his face.
Exactly.
That'd be funny. The next thing was a series of unfortunate events little trailer, teaser thing, whatever you want to call it. Very faithful to the book.
I love the tone that they set in that. To me, that teaser just tells me that whoever is show running this knows what they're doing, because like it matched exactly the tone that I remember when I was reading these books, and like it's one of those things where it's like now. Because, like, in the books, it's been a long time since I've read them, but...
I think you were 12.
Yes, there were 12.
Eat your heart out, Harry Potter.
Yeah. Well, the 12th book didn't happen, though. We're, like, just like...
11. That's more than
like
7.
Just like the 4th Indiana Jones movie, the 12th book never happened. But, in the books, like, I remember him, like, the author, Lemony Snicket, kind of doing an introduction, at least at the beginning of the book. But
he would jump in occasionally in parts of the story too.
And so it makes me wonder if I'm assuming it's going to be a series, and we don't know how many books they're going to cover. If they're going to do like one episode per book, which if they're doing hour long, it could work for some books, but not for others.
I feel like this is something they may try to stretch to get a second season, but I don't think they could do more than 2 seasons.
No,
unless they branch out and do stuff that wasn't in the books.
I don't think they could do that just by the way the books went.
It's
unless
possible.
They change the ending like everyone wants, but they won't do that. But like I kind of hope that, and maybe like whoever's show running it, like I have full faith in them just by for what they showed. But I kind of want him to kind of like almost narrate over the story as it's taking place in certain parts.
I'm pretty sure the guy playing Lemony Snicket was actually the voice actor for Joe in Family Guy.
I thought, wasn't it Rob Bigley or Biggie?
I don't think so.
He looked really familiar. I just don't know.
No, it was the guy that goes, "Hey, Peter." Yeah, that guy.
But yeah, like that teaser honestly just nailed the tone for what I think this show is going to be going forward, and I hope they don't butcher it like the movie did.
Yeah, even him as the casting as him, like how he was speaking, just seemed like it was like, oh, that's actually like Lemony Snicket, where he was like borderline condescending, but at the same time he's getting his point across, kind of thing. And like they nailed it down to the fact where he's like, in the books, he literally is like, don't read these books. Yeah, like these books are not for the faint of heart. Like, don't read them. And then he literally says that line in this trailer, which like trailers never tell like, don't see this movie, but it's like that's so on character. It's like, okay, yep, I'm gonna see this. It seems like the Netflix stuff is not afraid to be very faithful to their adaptation, which is just be like, great. We're so good at it that like we'll just do it, and like if you don't like it, that's too bad. We're just gonna do it anyway. It's like because they can subsidize it with other people that aren't watching those shows. Like they know they have the demographics on who's watching it,
But like with a movie, you have to kind of stay faithful to what people want or say they want.
Well, you have to stay faithful to like the actual movie structure, too.
Right? Because people are paying to see that movie specifically. Whereas with Netflix, you have a whole bunch of people paying to see anything, so you can take money that they're making from this series or all these subscriptions and put it into
for that,
right.
Yeah. Netflix is killing it lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're nailing it with the exclusives and the stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the only other thing we can really talk about from that teaser was there was a laugh, and I'm pretty sure it was Neil Patrick Harris as
it had to be Count Olaf, which
it sounded really good though. The laugh, it was like a lot of people were kind of afraid that it would be like a Joker-esque laugh. Not even close.
The only thing that I remember seeing that kind of worried me was seeing Neil Patrick Harris on set.
Really? I thought it looked good.
It didn't matter. As much as I hate Jim Carrey, I don't like him as an actor, I think he looked how I pictured Count Olaf looking really well. And so whenever I saw Neil Patrick Harris, just like, it didn't really register me as him being like a scary looking person just because I watch How I Met Your Mother. So it's like, he's only like typecasted to me. But there were so many different variables, like he could not be in makeup or all these different things.
I'm pretty sure he was though. And the way I envision Count Olaf is from the illustrations from the book on the covers, where he's very, very thin, almost pencil thin.
But he was tall.
But he was very tall.
Neil Patrick Harris isn't.
It doesn't matter though. If they frame it properly, it won't matter.
That's true. So, and maybe that's
exactly
something they can do.
So for Jim Carrey to me was almost like I don't want to say he was like stocky, like built like a football player, but he's more fit than Neil Patrick Harris is just in general. So Neil Patrick Harris kind of fits that my view of what the illustrator's view of the character was,
right? Where
he's almost like a stick guy kind of.
And Neil Patrick Harris, he's a great actor, so I'm sure he can pull off the role.
I don't know that he is,
but just like seeing
I've only seen him in like comedy stuff.
That's true.
I don't think he's probably been in something more serious.
He was Dr. Dewey Hauser, wasn't he? It was like an old TV show.
Maybe. Either way,
he was
like
a child actor.
A majority of people haven't seen him do something serious. They've seen him do more comedy stuff.
Well, I mean, like,
the character is comedic, but the character is comedic only because of his insanity.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how he is able to portray that, because Jim Carrey did it in like kind of like stupid humor, like fart joke kind of stuff.
Which is the reason why I don't like Jim Carrey, is that's his sense of humor. And just like, I grew out of that humor when I was 7 years old.
Dick humor's still funny.
Always. But I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how they pace this show.
Yeah.
Just because
I'm excited though.
Yeah, the first couple books they could honestly do an hour.
Because what they do 4 books for the movie?
3.
3? Oh wow, that's it? Oh wow.
They butchered 2 of them.
This was a turd of a movie anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
God, that was...
Yeah.
Anyway. I wish it never happened.
So I guess we got a little bit of time. We may as well jump to a short review of Luke Cage, the Netflix series.
Luke Cage is a character that I like the idea of, because he's like, my experience from him is I don't really have much other than I think that animation show that I can't remember the name of, Mightiest Heroes.
Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes.
He just seems like such a cool guy. Like a nice stand-up dude.
It's gonna be racist, but he's just a cool black guy.
Yeah. And so, like, that's the whole reason I was excited for Luke Cage, and that it was like, oh, it's just another story. Like I said, I like whenever anything they do to continue to build this Netflix universe that they've built, the Defenders universe.
Right.
But my problem with him is the same problem I have with Superman, and that whenever literally nothing can kill you, it's like every fight scene, there's no reason for me to be worried, or like, oh, he punched that guy through a window. He's just super strong. Or, oh, look, he just got shot 1 billion times.
Yeah, there's like only small things that can actually kill him.
Yeah, it's like in the show, they introduce a kryptonite for him. And even that is, and that's whenever it actually got interesting, whenever they're like, oh, how are they going to get around this and fight this?
That's the problem with superheroes that are so, for lack of a better word, indestructible.
Right.
Is that you have to basically find a MacGuffin to take them down, which is just it's just lazy.
Right.
It's like, and there's no involvement in you watching the character, because it's just like, yeah, he's just gonna live just because. Unless someone can get that MacGuffin, he's totally fine. Like, there's no stakes at all.
Right, exactly. And so, like, the entire show, like, the enemies weren't all that scary looking.
Aren't they just gangsters?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like, the trailer did a great job of showing the person that was the main bad guy, I guess, really well, and making him seem like this crazy dude. But honestly, it's just like, oh, cool, the enemy is a dude that all he can do is shoot people, and guess what? Your hero is immune to bullets. So it's like, immediately, it's like, he has no threat whatsoever. And
Queen takes pawn.
Exactly. So it's just like, it was one of those things where it's like, watching it, right, okay. But I think they did the best they could with that character. Like, I don't think Luke Cage is someone that can necessarily lead a series. The actor did fantastic.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed his performance, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't think there's enough for him to kind of take the lead. That's why I think he needs Iron Fist, honestly, to kind of go along with that.
Well, they have a really, even just the animated show, like, they had a really interesting dynamic together, because they're basically just like a buddy cop team.
Right.
They're basically like Mel Gibson and Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, so it's just like, I had expectations for this. It's like, never have expectations for anything, because you'll usually be let down. Like, I expected there to be a lot more cameos, at least small to some degree, to kind of connect it to Daredevil and everything. The only connection was the Night Nurse, which she's the only, like,
that's Rosario Dawson, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And I expected them to introduce Iron Fist at the season finale of this show. They didn't. So I was kind of like, because usually that's something that you would kind of, or at least what I was expecting, just because how
just to lead into the next
right,
thing.
or like how intertwined those two people's stories are.
Right.
The finale led up to there's going to be season 2 for Luke Cage, and the enemy that they're building is just going to be one of those things just like, okay, it's like I mean, if we're going to spoilers, it's going to be some guy that he got hurt, so he's now in the hospital after fighting Luke Cage, and the doctor that created Luke Cage sneaks in and is going to inject him with the same stuff he gave to Luke Cage.
So he's Crossbones.
So he's essentially going to try to recreate a bad version of Luke Cage. So it's going to be bad Luke Cage fighting good Luke Cage, and it's just like, cool, two indestructible characters fighting each other.
That's lazy.
Exactly. So it's like, I see, like, but like, what else can they do with that character? Honestly, like, there's really not much.
They don't need a second season.
They don't, but they kind of they have to. They feel like, I guess, to build these characters.
I guess they don't necessarily have to do a second season. They can still use that guy
in Defenders. Yeah. So I mean, it's possible they could do that. It's just one of those things. This show was more of a, right now we're in Hell's Kitchen. Mm-hmm. Right now, like, that's the universe that you know. Right now we're going to now expand it to Harlem.
And you can't be expected to enjoy every single property that someone's going to put out.
Right.
Like I don't like Civil War. A lot of people like Civil War. That doesn't mean that I dislike Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not obligated by any means to enjoy everything that something puts out. Like, that's just stupid. That doesn't make any sense. But speaking from me personally, seeing you getting ready for that show, you overhyped yourself.
Absolutely, I did.
Absolutely. Like, you were way too pumped about it.
Mm-hmm. Which is because, like,
you just need to curb your enthusiasm.
But it's just, again, it's like, they did a really good job marketing that show to, like, originally he showed up in Jessica Jones, and like, oh, that's cool. They introduced a character that's going to be explored further, and he was a cool guy. He was nice and cool, and like, I wanted to get to know more of his character because he showed up in Jessica Jones. It's like, oh, he seems like I want to know more about him. But then I realized there's just not much to know about him, so it's one of those things where it's like, I thought there was a lot of stuff, and not knowing his character,
not really.
I just kind of, it was like, oh, I expected this, didn't get to that. But not saying it was bad, but
yeah. Well, I mean, can't like everything,
right?
But maybe Defenders will do something interesting with him.
Yeah, I mean, like,
make it better.
Like I said, I think he makes for a great supporting character.
Yeah.
I don't think he can necessarily, as a character, not as an actor, because the actor, again, did fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But as a character, I don't think he can lead his own show.
Yeah.
And make it compelling enough.
Okay. Well, I think we covered pretty much everything we intended to. So
right on time, too. Wow.
Yeah. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Write in the comments how bad we are, though. But no, seriously, if you're tuning into this, thank you for watching. And
listening.
Yeah, and listening. But if you want to hear more, or you're interested in becoming asking questions on the show or anything like that, just make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you hate us, write in the comments, and we'll try to improve on what you think we need to.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's how things are built.
Sure. With Legos and complaints.
Yes.
All right. See you guys later.